Hey guys, this is Grayson the Dean 221 Nichols, and we are doing this week's episode of High Stakes Poker Hand Reviews from outside here in Florida. We got a really nice day out, a little cold for us, but still really nice and sunny. So I thought I'd do it out here, change of scenery for you guys. Um, there was a little. We got really cutthroat with the lineup they had for the last month. Usual suspects, JRB, Dwan et al. Looks like we kept a few of those guys in the game. Dwan and Solomon and JRB are all still here, but they've shuffled out, and we got a few new ones. We got some well-known online players. We got an ex MLB baseball player. And let's just jump right into the action. So now they gave up on the 400-800 game, but we got a 200-400 game with a straddle. And this hand takes place where Solomon straddles to 800 under the gun, and Dwan opens the action with Jack 10 off to 7,000 and gets called by Perry with Ace 10 suited, Schwimmer in the small blind with a marginal 6-7 off call, and Solomon also tags along with the Ace 7 offsuit. So this is an interesting hand. This hand only really goes to the flop essentially, but I felt that this was worth discussing for a few reasons. So flops Ace King 7. Dwan bets out immediately with his gut shot and backdoor Jack high flush draw. He bets 15,000 into the pot of about 30, so a little over half pot, standard C bet here. It's kind of optimistic, I think, in my eyes, that all three of his opponents, none of them have an ace, and I think Dwan knows no one's folding an ace to him. However, he does have equity. He has, four outs at the straight. He has the backdoor clubs, which could be useful. So I think his bet is reasonable. Perry calls with the top pair 10 kicker, which also seems fine. He knows Dwan's going to be betting widely here, and he knows he has the best hand quite a bit. Schwimmer folds the junk that he should have folded pre-flop, to be honest. Don't know what he was thinking. And now the action's to Rick, okay? So King Salomon over here, the guy we've been watching for the last month. This guy just running over $1 million buy-in tournaments like it's nothing. Just like he's like a high stakes, I want to say he's a fish, but he does so well in the games. The guy's well known as an actor, producer in Hollywood, just a big wig. Does well in these games anyway. He, of course, called with his minute equity pre-flop and hit gin here with the Ace King 7. So now Rick's going to go ahead and raise it up as he should. His hand's obviously very vulnerable. A king kills his hand. Anything from 10 Jack Queen is scary for him. Clubs aren't good for him. So he's got to raise it up right away. And he does. He makes it 65,000 to go, I believe. Perfect raise, makes sense. Dwan folds, of course, after a little bit of Hollywooding. And the action's over to Sean Perry now, the newcomer. Sean, who, if anyone has watched the recent WPT episode, was at a final table, had a monster stack and ran into some gross spots. Also, kind of, you might want to say he got a little too aggressive and he kind of blew it a little bit in a couple spots where maybe he could have toned it down. But as all the tough aggressive players know, that you're going to live and die with this strategy, right? So Sean's very capable, very aggressive player. I believe his father is a poker legend, if I'm not mistaken. Also, so he calls here, makes sense. On the flop. Now the action's back to him. So he knows Solomon's, he knows his image. He knows how crazy Rick is, right? So this is an interesting spot for him. He only has a 10 kicker, but he's seen Rick get so out of line, right? So it got me thinking. I was like, what should he continue with here, right? I feel like if I had ace queen, I'd be pretty comfortable. And that, to me, might be the bottom end. Granted, I don't really have much familiarity in cash games, certainly not in this sort of buy-in level. But this strikes me as like right at the fringe, like where I'm not really comfortable getting it in, certainly for hundreds of big blinds, and no backdoor equity really. But, you have to figure, what does Rick have? And so I thought I'd plug in a couple of the hands that Rick might be likely to have here into Equilab. Let's pull this up really fast, just let you guys take a peek at it. So I set the board Ace King 7, and I put in Sean's hand, and then I wrote kind of what I thought Rick's range might look like. Things from Ace 7, King 7 for the two pairs, Ace Queen off, Ace Jack, and then a bunch of club combos. 8 9 suited, 9 10 suited, Queen 10 suited, Queen Jack suited, etc. And when you throw all these in, it looks like his equity is only around 25%. So this is just not a great spot for Sean. He's probably going to need a little bit better of a price here, because I look at this also as he's basically just putting him all in, right? Like, because if Sean, it's not like he's calling here and folding and keeping his last 30,000. It's all in or fold here, right? So I think that he's not exactly getting the correct price here. This feels a little risky. If we knew that Rick had smaller aces in his range, like if Rick could have something like ace five of hearts here, then absolutely Sean's get in makes a ton of sense, right? But I'm just struggling to see if Rick ever would check raise with ace nine off, ace eight off, or worse in this spot. So barring an unusual read against Rick in that spot, I think this might be one of the scenarios where Sean might be able to make a pretty big fold. Granted, again, easier said than done from the sidelines in such a high stakes game, but I believe, especially with some soft spots at the table, like this Schwimmer guy, the ex athlete, Solomon, obviously, I think Sean could probably find a better spot. So, little surprised to see him get it in here. He goes ahead and moves all in. Rick obviously calls. They decide to run it twice, and I believe they chop. Rick wins the first one, and Sean gets lucky and spikes a king on the other one. This hand, the question really came down to the flop. And the inflection point here was, what should Sean do in this spot? And I think that the important thing you do is when you're faced with Sean's decision, the first thing you do is construct a range for Rick. And then you figure out what kind of price you're getting, compare his range to the price you're getting, and then, make a decision from there, right? But it all starts with making a range for your opponent. And we talk about this every week. Continue to range your opponents. The better you get at that, the more you will be able to step outside of the box and think about situations in ways that other players don't. And it'll help you make contrarian moves as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Check us out next week. We'll be reviewing the most interesting hand or two. Hopefully I'll do a bonus video this week because there were some interesting hands in there from the new episode of High Stakes Poker that I'm following each week. Hope you guys are watching as well. Check out our other videos on the Elite Rounders YouTube channel. And I will see you guys next week. Best of luck on the felt, fellas. See ya.